Hi, and welcome to Holland Estates. You're listening to episode number 627. I'm Paul Trudell.
And I'm Sanaya Mystery.
How are you today, Sanaya?
I'm doing well, Paul. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. We're into just about December now, and holiday. We have our holiday party on the horizon, and Christmas lights up, and it's getting to, and the year is winding down quickly. So, all of those things to think about, and a very unusual year. In preparing for today's podcast, we thought we'd talk a bit about the Office of the Public Guardian and Trustee. And we came across Natalia Angelini's blogs from November 23rd and 25th dealing with the Office of the Public Guardian and Trustee. And we thought it would be just a good idea to review some of the things that they do and some of the services they provide and how we may interact with the public guardian and the trustee on various matters that we deal with in the estates and capacity litigation area. So, Sanaya, maybe we can just talk a bit about the public guardian and trustee. The Office of the Public Guardian and Trustee is a corporation established by the Public Guardian and Trustee Act. It's associated with the Ministry of the Attorney General, and they're primarily charged with protecting the rights and interests of incapable Ontarians who may not be able to look after their own property, either because of incapacity or because they've passed on and there's no one else to do it. So maybe we could just talk a bit about some of the things or some of the ways the public guardian and trustee may be able to help or deal with some of the matters that we get involved in.
Yes, absolutely. Just taking a look at, some of the things that the Office of the Public Guardian and Trustee does. One of them is conducting investigations. So, when the PGT receives information that an individual may be incapable and at risk of suffering serious financial or personal harm, and there's no alternate solution available, they will conduct an investigation, and they might be appointed as the temporary statutory guardian for these at-risk individuals.
Right. And we often get calls from, concerned neighbors or friends who feel that, the woman who lives in the house down the street may be taken advantage of, or, she's getting the third new roof in a year. And that's the sort of thing that the public guardian and trustee receives complaints on. And if they do receive a complaint, not a complaint, a concern, they will make those investigations and find out if the person may be vulnerable, may be incapable, and if so, whether they have a caregiver or an attorney. And if not, then they would step in to become a guardian. The other thing that the public guardian and trustee does is manages finances and property for people. If someone is not capable of managing their own property and there's no alternate attorney or guardian who's appointed, then the public guardian and trustee can become their guardian, or will become their statutory guardian upon them being found to be incapable, and will be able to manage their money, make sure that it's invested properly, not being abused, and then provide an allowance or some support for the person who is incapable. With respect to personal care, maybe we can talk a bit about how they get involved in dealing with issues of personal care.
Of course. So the court may grant the PGT authority over personal care. This, can happen for the purposes of removing someone who is in a harmful situation, as previously mentioned, or removing access by an abuser. This decision-making authority, that is granted by the court may be accompanied by the decision to make decisions on other areas of personal care, like healthcare, residence, nutrition, clothing, everything related to the person's personal care.
Right. And I think it's important to note that in managing finances and personal care, this is not something that the public guardian and trustee is actively seeking out or pursuing. They are probably the caregiver or manager of last resort, and they won't get involved unless there's no one else who's able to take steps necessary to protect the person's property or personal care. And just on that issue, if there is an application for guardianship, somebody wants to have someone declared to be incapable and to look after that person's property or personal care, the public guardian and trustee also has a role in appointing counsel to represent that person if there's a question as to whether they're capable or not. And the Substitute Decisions Act has a provision that allows the public guardian and trustee to appoint a person who would represent the incapable person's interests and make sure that their voice is heard in any such proceeding. And we'll talk a bit about the other role that the public guardian and trustee has in guardianship applications and overseeing and monitoring that process. Before we get to a guardianship application or if someone is found to be incapable, we need to deal with the assessment of their capacity. And that's another area where the public guardian and trustee can step in. They have great resources with respect to qualified assessors and approved assessors, and they have a running list of who can be used. That can be found on their website, and those people have special training and know the tests where necessary. What other areas do we see the public guardian and trustee acting and assisting people who may not be capable?
So sometimes the public guardian and trustee is appointed as the litigation guardian as last resort in situations where someone is incapable and there's no suitable alternative. So there's no one else who can act as the litigation guardian for them. The public guardian and trustee might be appointed as their litigation guardian to help resolve the issues or to make settlement decisions and things like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So in that case, the public guardian and trustee can instruct counsel or deal with the lawsuit, give instructions where the person may be incapable. Another important role of the public guardian and trustee is an overseeing role where they're not necessarily managing the property, but an attorney or a guardian is managing the property. The public guardian and trustee plays a reviewing role with respect to accounting. When accounts are passed, when you want to get court approval of what you've done for someone who's incapable, you would serve the public guardian and trustee, and their role is to review the accounts and ensure that they have no issues. And if there are issues or concerns, they would be the ones who would raise those.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to stress in those accounts how particular the Office of the Public Guardian and Trustee can be, because it is important to manage the finances of incapable people properly and in their best interest. So it is very important for attorneys to keep accurate records and make sure that they are doing everything that they can to act in their best interest.
Yeah, and I find the public guardian and trustee is quite meticulous in that area, and they are quite thorough in their reviews. And I think, like you said, it's important for guardians or attorneys to know that up front when they start keeping the records, just to know what sort of records they're going to need to keep and how to make sure they're able to address the concerns of the public guardian and trustee when it comes time to account. One other area where the public guardian and trustee may become involved is where a person passes away and there's no one to administer the estate in Ontario. They can be appointed as the estate trustee of last resort if no one else is an appropriate party to manage the estate or deal with the assets of the deceased. And we often see that as the case where people have no family in Ontario, no relatives, they don't have a will, and the public guardian and trustee in those cases may become the estate trustee and undertake the job of looking for next of kin in order to distribute the estate. If they're not successful, then ultimately those funds may pass to the government of Ontario, but the public guardian and trustee is quite careful to ensure that they've taken all reasonable steps to find the next of kin. Okay, well, I think that may bring us to the end of this podcast. We were going to speak a bit about the role of the public guardian and trustee in reviewing guardianship applications, and we talked about, touched on that briefly, that they have a role in reviewing applications to be appointed as a state trustee, and they'll raise their concerns and make sure the court is aware of their concerns and the steps necessary before someone is appointed. But maybe we'll deal with that on another podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sanaya. Until next time, thank you for listening and for watching. And if you want to leave us a comment on our podcast or any of the matters that we talk about, please visit our website. And there you'll also find our daily blog that has a different issue every day. And this is where we got our idea for this topic on the public guardian and trustee.
Yes,
okay, well, until next time, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.